So let's unpack the viral lie that this is a Democratic shutdown in order to give benefits to illegal aliens. First off, this is a Republican shutdown. They control the House, the Senate, and the White House. And no benefits will go to illegal aliens in the healthcare system that we're trying to protect. Medicare doesn't go to people unless they're here lawfully. Medicaid doesn't go to people unless they're here lawfully. And the Affordable Care Act benefits that expire soon and that we're fighting for now don't go to people unless they're here lawfully. So it's a lie. And the question is, why the lie? And the answer is because Republicans know perfectly well that Americans want good health care and like the Affordable Care benefits that amount to hundreds of dollars a month for many families. So they try to change the topic, but they can't change the facts. It's a lie.
Folks, let's stop pretending this shutdown is some mysterious accident. Republicans control the White House, the Senate, and the House. They crashed the bus and now they're blaming the passengers in the back. This isn't new. Republicans have been abusing their power at every turn. They've gutted Medicaid, they've slashed food assistance, they've forced work requirements that rip healthcare away from people who need it. They've shoved money into ICE, giving immigration enforcement a bloated slush fund, while cutting the very programs that keep families afloat. Now Democrats are saying no, and here's why. If you give in to bullies, they don't stop. They don't say thank you. They say good, now hand over more. Look at every community, every program, every group that's capitulated to Republican demands. Every single one ends up squeezed harder the next round. Bullies escalate, and we're standing on the edge of a cliff right now. So no, Democrats can't just go along to get along. Capitulation here wouldn't be compromise, it would be complicity. It would mean becoming enablers of the same abuse that's already hollowed out the foundation. Republicans own this shutdown. Republicans crashed the system, and they own the wreckage. Don't let them tell you otherwise. Well, Republicans, I hope you're having the day you deserve.
Donald Trump and Republicans have shut the government down because they don't want to provide health care to working class Americans.
All right, let's break this down. First off, Donald Trump and the Republicans did not shut down the government. The clean continuing resolution passed in the House. Donald Trump is ready to sign it. Democrats are using the filibuster in the Senate to stop this from happening. The filibuster essentially means that senators can end debate on a topic indefinitely. And in order to break past the filibuster, you need to have 60 votes in the Senate. So Democrats are quite literally causing a shutdown because they want more spending on healthcare. But again, a clean continuing resolution is already passed in the House. Democrats are blocking it in the Senate. When I say clean, it essentially just means that they're going to continue to fund the government at its current levels just to keep the lights on. No policy change is not adding anything, just keeping it clean to keep people paid and keep the government operating. Democrats are saying no to that, and they're trying to use that as leverage to get policy changes because Congress controls the purse. So they're using this continuing resolution as leverage to get what they want. They're trying to jam their policies into a resolution to keep the government running. But now that I've said that, let's go back to what Hakeem Jeffries said again. I addressed the first part. Democrats have essentially stuck a piece of metal in the gears that were turning and are now blaming the gears. But let's get to the second half of what he said.
Donald Trump and Republicans have shut the government down because they don't want to provide health care to working class Americans.
That's a lie. We already addressed how they didn't shut the government down. Second off, he does want health care for working class Americans. They're talking about the cuts over the next 10 years that are happening with Medicaid. Now, mind you, around 90% of people are still expected to be covered. Do you know who the #1 target of these cuts are? Able-bodied adults aged 19 through 64 without disabilities, dependents, or other exemptions. They are increasing work requirements for these individuals in order for them to qualify. If you don't have disabilities, children, or any other exemptions, why shouldn't you be working at least 20 to 30 hours a week to contribute to our society? You're just supposed to be able to sit back, not do anything, and then reap the rewards from other people's work? So no, Donald Trump very much wants working class people to be insured. He doesn't want people mooching off the system, and I don't blame him. Also, of our federal budget, about 13% of it goes to just interest on debt. Just for context, Medicare is 14% of our budget. So 13% of our budget is going to interest payments, and that rate is accelerating. So the government has to do something to get this interest under control. If they don't get interest payments under control, our government will spend more and more money on interest payments, and we won't have money for all these entitlement programs or our defense. So the government has to figure out a way to take on less debt and having more money to take on interest payments. The money has to come from somewhere. They're looking after the financial health of our nation. Don't forget about my Substack. It's a free email newsletter. I give you morning updates here and things like this in more detail. The link is in my profile. Just go there, drop your email in, you'll be good to go.
I don't think a shutdown advantages anybody, so I hope we can find compromise. It's difficult to do that with a guy who was more interested in playing golf over the weekend.
Do you think Democrats should
I'll continue.
Democrats?
Not only he played golf all the weekend after canceling a meeting with Senate Democrats. The President of the United States canceled a meeting with the leaders in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, and then felt it was more important, hours before a shutdown, to play golf. And then, rather than having a serious meeting, decided to troll those leaders with a Trump 2028 hat that he put on the Resolute desk and sent out a tweet after he sent out an AI video doctored with a racist video of Speaker Jeffries in a sombrero. These are not serious people.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like.
He's lying. He doesn't have to fire hundreds of thousands of people. He doesn't have to cut benefits. He doesn't have to take the food out of the mouths of children. He doesn't have to shut down oversight of corporations. He's doing it because he wants to cause pain. He wants to destroy the lives of government workers because he sees them as the enemy. He wants to strip away benefits from families who rely on them because he sees them as the enemy. He wants corporations to have free reign to cheat, gouge, and exploit because that's what he wants to do. These cuts are not about saving money. They're about cruelty. They're about consolidating his power. They're about one man who's never cared about anything but his own wealth, control, and ego. He's lying to the American people. He doesn't have to do this. He's doing it because he wants to. And if he gets his way, there will be pain for millions of Americans.
The government is shut down, and if you check official websites, they're literally blaming the radical left. It's like watching the arsonist call the fire department suspicious. Here's reality. We live in a democracy, which means when two sides disagree, they're supposed to compromise. But Republicans are refusing to negotiate unless they get everything they want, like cutting health care and slashing social programs. And when Democrats say, no, the GOP slams the door and says, look what you made us do. This isn't governing, it's hostage taking, and tens of millions are buying it because they've traded books for bumper stickers. It's not new, it's the same old Civil War era poison, just rebranded with a red hat and a social media strategy.
This entire shutdown is based on a ridiculous Republican lie. Speaker Johnson and Vice President Vance have pulled this out their hat. They're saying that the undocumented will be eligible for this. A flat-out lie. To weaponize the immigration issue in this critical crossroad and debate. So we're here to say to the American people, they are lying. They are the majority in the House of Representatives. They are the majority in the Senate. They're running the White House. And some would argue they may be even running the Supreme Court. They're controlling every aspect of government. This is their shutdown. This is not our shutdown. This is their shutdown.
Mike Johnson just got called out on live TV as he spread the lie that Democrats want to give illegal aliens health care, and that's why the government shut down. Watch him desperately try to deny the truth and what this means for millions of Americans.
Here are the facts. The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants. Illegal immigrants cannot buy health care under the Affordable Care Act. They cannot receive health care subsidies. No. Illegal immigrants are ineligible for Medicare, Medicaid, and the Children's Health Program. The Democratic bill does not make them eligible.
It does, actually.
The reason the Republicans Republicans shut the government down is because they don't want to protect access to affordable health care. The truth is, millions of Americans will lose their coverage or face higher premiums under this new Republican spending bill. But instead of addressing that issue, Mike Johnson decided to dismiss it as absurd. That's not leadership, that is denial. Medicaid allows families to be able to afford critical medical care, and subsidies keep premiums manageable for working class Americans. Without these protections in place, people with chronic illnesses, children, and the elderly are going to lose their lives and suffer. This isn't partisan politics. This is not a game. It's about whether people can afford to see a doctor or get life-saving medicine. Mike Johnson's response shows us everything we need to know about the modern Republican Party. They deny the facts, call the truth absurd, and hope that the people don't notice the actual consequences of their actions. Government shutdowns aren't just harmless political theater. Federal workers stop getting paid, programs freeze, and the most vulnerable people in our society get impacted. Republicans are playing games with people's health and livelihoods. Then they're pretending that it's absurd when we point out the damage.